Hi there, I'm James Osborne, the co-founder of the Recruitment Network, and this is the TRN Podcast. Every week, we unpack the strategies, the technologies, the processes and mindsets fueling today's top-performing recruitment agencies. We take a look behind the scenes of some great recruitment businesses, we listen to the real-life stories of those who have built those businesses, and we learn from some of the industry's greatest thought leaders to help you become both future fit and future relevant. So let's begin with this next episode of the TRM Podcast. So what we're talking about today is how high-performing agencies build candidate assets that place, scale and compound. So a slightly different sort of swing on today's session, but hopefully it's going to find this quite useful. I try to keep it quite practical as well, and I'll just sort of run through some principles behind it and why we're doing it. Very quickly, for those of you who don't know us and who we are the Recruitment Network, or TRN as we like to call ourselves. We're a large global community of recruiters, recruitment businesses, recruitment business owners, and advisors and mentors to the industry. So we all hang out together and support each other and support the members to help them maximise and improve their performance, their productivity, and their profitability, three of my favourite things. So really exciting start to the year. We've definitely seen an increase already in performance, productivity and profitability across the membership. So I'm pretty pleased about that. I'm currently in Southampton. I was in London yesterday with all the members and chatting to a load of them about what they're doing in their businesses and how the year started. And again, it seems to be that the year has started really well for a big chunk of the industry, which is great news. So really pleased about that. There's two reasons for that. Number one, I think the market's got a little bit better. Let's just be honest about it, which is good. There's a little bit more positivity, a little bit more confidence in the market. So there's a bit more hiring going on now in the new year, which is great. But the second reason, which links into what we're going to talk about today, is the fact that recruitment companies actually are far more productive today than they were 2 years ago, 18 months ago, 12 months ago. That's a good thing. So we've really sorted out, tightened up off how we run our businesses. And on the back of that, now we're doing better than we were before, just by the fact we're running better businesses, which can't be a bad thing. You add that to a slightly better market and hey, we're in a really, really good place. And yes, this week I've had a couple of board meetings with members who've already said they've had a record January, their best ever January in history. Let's get into what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to put a bit of a backdrop to it, and the actual process is quite simple actually, but I'm going to put a bit of a backdrop to this to get you thinking a little bit about what it is that you're doing and how it is that you're working. So one of the questions I ask everyone is, do you actually understand where you make money in your business or on your desk? And at the same time, do you actually understand where you're losing money at the same time? Because they're two quite different things. And I think that it's a really important question to when you really get underneath the skin of it a little bit. This is all about productivity and profit as much as anything else, because the reality is many recruitment companies have been unnecessarily leaking profit because actually their operating model hasn't necessarily kept pace with how the market is changed and the market has evolved. So it's just a reality. That's why we call recruitment companies today, you need to be future fit as well as you need to be future relevant in your marketplace as well. So even if the pie is the same size, so the economy doesn't change, the market is what the market is, and you can't really control that. And in some cases, the market might have shrunk slightly, but you can definitely control and have an influence over the slice of the pie that you have. That's the whole point of this. So you can do that in three ways. You can either go out and just win more business and be better at winning more business, or you can be better at winning better business for that matter as well. So better business, that's going to help you. And you can use our programs like, Philosophy does that, but how to win more business. The Pinnacle program is how to win better business. But what we're going to talk about today is how do you increase profitability within your business with what you've already got. Just by doing that alone, you're going to get better conversions, you're going to get better profitability per desk, per recruiter, and across your business as well. Because the reality is the pound of revenue that we generated maybe 10 years ago isn't worth the same as a pound of revenue today, because it costs us more money to bring in new customers, it costs us more money to bring in candidates, to manage our businesses and to manage our people, etc. So every day that is getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, and recruitment companies becoming less and less profitable because ultimately we're adding in lots and lots more costs, technology, whatever else it might be, LinkedIn licenses, and so it goes on and so it goes on. So we've got to find out a way of bringing that cost down and improving that conversion from revenue to operating profit ultimately. There's a productivity illusion that we sort of talk about. We're good at tracking activity across recruitment companies. We know that. So we look at calls made, CV sent, interviews booked, etc. But we don't necessarily do much with it. And being busy, just having people do lots of this stuff doesn't necessarily mean they're being effective. And being effective doesn't necessarily mean they're being profitable. So we've got to understand the link between activity, effectiveness, conversions, profitability. And then that allows us to do something about it. Because since COVID, staff costs have risen. Consultant productivity definitely varies widely between different seats. delivery models that we have within our businesses are still quite heavily reliant on one or two individuals. And I think too much effort goes into not enough return on activity. And there's a really good quote from one of the members who said, we've actually got recruiters right now, they're smashing their activity KPIs. It's brilliant, but they're just not hitting their margin target. So it's not really working. That's the wake up call, I think, for all of us as an industry and as businesses as well. I was talking about this yesterday in London, and one of the things that we talk a lot about is looking at your business from a slightly different lens. So, for example, those of you who currently look at your company from a league table point of view, like who are your top performers from a revenue point of view, flip that on its head and start looking at your league table based on net contribution and profitability. So look at your recruiters and go, actually, when you factor in all their costs, what actually is the net contribution they're delivering back to the business? How much profit are we making per recruiter? And you can do exactly the same thing when it comes to your clients, exactly the same thing when it comes to the types of jobs that you're placing. Do you actually know how profitable your actual clients are when you factor in all the costs that come within that? I've got a really cool calculator that helps you with this. So if any of you are interested in that, just give me a yes, and I'll send you the calculator across, the net contribution calculator, and you can actually start measuring this within your business. It's really fascinating. I also think it's really bloody eye-opening as well. And what we say to everyone is you want to aim for a payout rate which is sub 30%. You will find you have top performers within your business, supposedly, who actually are well above that 30% payout rate, which actually is then costing you money ultimately. So it's about driving profitability growth as opposed to revenue growth. So the question then becomes, how do we significantly impact the productivity, the net contribution, and therefore reduce those payout rates of our recruiters and everyone in the business for that matter this year? And then the same factor is, what else can we do to help impact that, what we call this labor productivity metric, or this net contribution metric across the business, either directly or indirectly? And I put a list up in here of all the things that you could start doing and all the things that you could influence that would have a massive impact on your productivity and performance as a business. And yes, this is where AI does come into play a little bit, and you can use AI to do a lot of this stuff for you and help you with this type of stuff. But that list that you're seeing there on this screen, basically, you imagine that you can impact every single one of those things by 5%, let's say, in the next 90 days. What impact will that have? If you compound all that together, what impact will that have ultimately on your business moving forward? And quite a significant impact if you sort of think about it. So that's something we're going to focus on today, is how do we influence some of these metrics that you're seeing on the screen here by 2, 3, 4, 5 points or 5% in the next 90-day sprint. Added together will have a significant impact on your profitability. And the ones I'm going to focus on today are the ones I've highlighted. So things like pipeline deal velocity, candidate sourcing efficiency, your conversion ratios from CV to interview, your time to fill metrics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're the sort of things we're going to sort of look at today, which links back to this talent pooling thing that we're going to sort of refer to in a second. So I think what we're going to talk about today influences these 11 things that I've highlighted on the screen, which will make a massive difference. And we know this stuff works. This is one of the members, some of you know Simon from Addition Solutions, one of my members. And basically, he went through a process with us, was looking at this thing about productivity analysis. So let's not just focus about winning business all the time. Let's also focus on driving and creating more productivity within our businesses. And we ran a round table that he was involved with. It was a massive eye-opener. This is what he said, because it helped them really understand how to improve team productivity within the business and what needs to be done, how to do it, etc. And it's had a massive impact on his business, which is great. And this is the sort of stuff I want you guys to be thinking about and you guys to be going through as well. We've got members at the moment. There's a company called Rhombic, brilliant business. They've just completed a full operation audit across their business. I won't share it with you, but it's about a 130-page audit they've created to really understand what's working within their business, what's not working, what they're going to do to drive the business forward and create more efficiency. And this business is going to transform because of this. It's absolutely superb. And even here, I just took a quick screen grab of one element of it. And by eliminating certain components within the business, they're confident they can increase business, client and candidate growth by over 40% with what they've already got. That's outstanding when you think about it. Imagine all of you increasing your growth as a business by 40% with what you've already got. Just think about the numbers that sit off the back of that. So that's the sort of stuff that we can do through these processes. How do you do it? Number of ways that you can do it. We've got a thing called the waste elimination checklist, something we created ages ago, which is basically a massive checklist of all the areas in your business of wastage and inefficiency that's costing you time, taking out money, missing opportunities, and so on and so forth. And what this does literally is allows you to understand where the gaps are within your business or all across your desk. And then we've got another document or a guide called the problem to solution guide, which is basically saying, based on all the areas where you've got wastage and the areas that you need to plug, these are the things that you can do to be able to do that sort of stuff, and coming from ideas from our members. This is the waste elimination checklist on here. It's not complicated, but it's really, really bloody effective and gets you thinking about where the holes are in your business. And again, if any of you want a copy of this, give me a yes, we'll stick it in the chat, or we'll send it across to you afterwards. And you can just run this exercise through your business. Take about 10 minutes to do. If you've got an operations person, get them to do it. And this is a big part of the process. Plug all the leaky gaps, make your business more of an efficient engine or a machine, and then fill the hell of it at the top of it with lots of new business. Tick, tick, tick. It means we can now significantly grow, what we call accelerate, in 2026. We've got lots of examples of this. I thought I'd just share this quick case study. This is really simple, but this is an example of one of the members who's taken that process and really sort of run with it. This is James Walker from the BWD group. Basically, I won't go through this in detail. We'll send this through to you, basically. But what he wanted to do, came from one of our sessions, was really understand where his team were really spending their time, what they were doing with their time, and how effective were they being with their time. So basically, we instigated this time audit, this company-wide time audit, as almost like a visibility project across the business to really unearth what the hell recruiters are doing on a day-to-day basis, and is it the right stuff, and where they're spending their time, and then potentially what we can replace them with AI and do other stuff as well. Now, I won't go through this in detail. We'll ping this across to you so you can have a good look at it afterwards. We created some AI agents to help analyze it as well, sort of stuff. So actually built some agents to do the analysis of a typical recruiter's desk, etc., etc. But off the back of it, some simple activities came off the back. Some of it was about streamlining meetings. Some of it was about improving certain targeted training areas with certain areas based where there's gaps. There was a data cleanse project, and so it went on, and so it went on. So we started picking little areas, or James started picking little areas within his business of what you can do and how you can fix that. Now, what James has kindly done, actually, he's built this time audit toolkit, which he's created here. If any of you want a copy of it, we can ping it across to you. It's just and he shared this, which is great. And it's just basically exactly how he did the process that James followed. If you want to use it, feel free to do so. It works. It's really quite cool. And actually, there's a link on the video here on the chat here to a video that James actually recorded about how he did it and how it sort of worked for him. So nothing complicated, nothing rocket science, but really, really effective when you think about it in its principle. Now, I'm not going to go through this one by one. Again, I'll share these with you afterwards, but there are a load of profit leaks and plugs that I think you can sort of think about. I've mapped out 10 for you. This comes from a lot of conversations we have across the hundreds and hundreds of recruitment companies that we work with. But these are the 10 places where typically recruitment businesses are tending to lose margin at the moment, and then also some of the things that they're doing about it. And how they're plugging those sort of gaps as well. And I'll share these with you. I'm not going to go through this detail, but just so you get a bit of a sense of what some of those areas are. So these are consultants doing operational work rather than the sort of work that they should be doing. So where you've got fee earners basically being bogged down in low value tasks. So these are the things where the issue is. These are the things to consider and how you can sort of fix it. Another one is around bloated delivery models on low margin clients. So doing heavy delivery with low value, low margin clients. Overlapping internal roles within your business, underutilized tech stacks, inefficient offshoring, or none at all for that matter as well. And if you know me, you know I'm a massive fan of the offshoring model. We've got reactive hiring into outdated roles or obsolete roles, margin disappearing within the delivery process, strategy stuck in the boardroom and not being delivered by the team. Some AI being utilized but not adopted with any real strategy behind it, so it doesn't really do anything. It's a distraction, and even down to cultural misalignment as well. So we share these with you. There's 10 things to sort of think about that will get you thinking about actually what the hell am I going to do about these things to really drive a high performing team, high performing culture, a high productive, highly efficient culture, and for that matter as well. And then we'll go into one, which is obviously what we're going to talk about today, which is the value of candidate pooling. And I'll run, this is not complicated, but just to give you a sense of how that sort of looks like. And here's an example of what you can now do to take this away practically within your teams as one example of one of those plugs that you can put in one of your leaky buckets from a productivity perspective. Now, what a lot of recruitment companies I don't think they do particularly well is run their desk as if their candidates are actual assets. So rather than just being a candidate you're placing, they're an actual asset to the business that you can then increase the value of an asset. So think of a candidate like that. Don't treat them like that. But in essence, that's sort of what they are. What we tend to do as in recruitment, if you look at a lot of our businesses, we accept that it's quite a costly operating model. So most roles we sort of start from scratch. We rebuild our shortlist role by role. We resource the candidates that we've already got relationships with, and we spend so much time recreating a load of value that should already exist or does already exist within what we've already got. So it's one of the biggest, I think, hidden cost drains in a recruitment business. We don't see this on the P&L. It doesn't exist on the P&L, but actually you'll see it when you start looking at your margins and margins being depleted. pressure on delivery, and then obviously there's spikes and inconsistent results across certain recruiters. I show an example of this and picking out that area around resourcing candidates, for example, that you already know. This is one of the members we were working with. This is 18 months of placement data. So over the course of 18 months, this particular recruitment business did 421 placements over an 18-month period. Fine, which is great. When you look at it, 366 of those candidates that they had placed had come from either job boards, 32% of them, or 55% came from LinkedIn. So out of the 421 placements they did, 366, so what's that, 87% came from either job boards or LinkedIn. Okay, so that's the reality, that's the data. Okay, fine. But then when you also look at it, out of that 366, 285 of those candidates were already on their CRM system. In this case, it was Bullhorn. So 78% of the candidates they went out to market to go and get on job boards and LinkedIn, they actually already existed on their database. So if you summarize that, out of the 421 placements they did in that 18-month period, 59% of them they already had on their database, but they chose to go somewhere else to go and find those candidates. So if you think about the wastage within that lack of reutilization of candidates that we've already got, it's insanity at best when you sort of think about it. And why do they do that? It was just a behavioral thing. They were just so used to picking up a job and then going straight to a job board or straight to LinkedIn, etc., when they actually didn't need to whatsoever. So one of the things that we focus a lot on, one of the measurements that you should talk about, we talk about this in client lifetime value on a sales side, but you should also look at candidate lifetime value. How much is a typical candidate worth you over the lifetime they're going to engage with you? So contractors over a 5-10 year period, how many times are you going to place that contractor in a typical year? Permies, how many times are you going to place those perm candidates over a 10-year period, maybe 3 or 4 times, etc. So what's the value of a candidate to you, and what are you doing strategically to try and increase that candidate value to make sure we're getting not just one placement out of a candidate, but maybe 5, 6, 10 placements out of a candidate. So we measure candidate lifetime value in the same way pub chains measure candidate lifetime value as well. I'll use that as a pub as an analogy, because we all know pubs. So this is something they measure all the time in the hospitality industry. They go, right, this guy here, he probably lives in his area for just over 8 years at a time in his life. He probably goes to his pub 1.2 times a week. I didn't realize that's the average apparently in the UK. There you go. And when he goes to his pub, he's probably going to spend about £30 each visit. So his customer lifetime value is £30 each visit times 1.2 visits per week times 52 weeks a year times 8, just over 8 years. So he is worth to me, or this pub, about 15.5 grand. So that's pretty much what he's worth. So that's why when you go to pubs, have you noticed they always have these specials on, like 2 for 1 night, bring a friend night, steak and wine night, etc. What they're trying to do are 2 things. Basically increase your customer lifetime value, either by getting you to spend maybe £35 on average each visit rather than £30, maybe come to the pub 1.4 times on average a week rather than 1.2 times, and maybe every 3rd visit bring a mate type stuff. So that increases the value of that particular customer. Does that make sense? So with your clients, you do the same thing, right? What's the average customer lifetime value? So typically, how much are your customers spending with you? And what's your strategy to get more out of them, increase that penetration and move up the food chain? But the same thing with candidates as well. What's the value of a candidate, and what's your strategy to grow those candidates? So we came up with some ideas for this, and one we're going to focus on quickly now is the what we call candidate pooling or talent pooling. We built a playbook for this, which is called the Ultimate Candidate Pool Playbook. It says what it does on the tin. And we built this for you. If you want a copy of it, just give us a yes, and we'll get this sent across to you afterwards. And this pretty much summarizes the process that you need to follow, which is what we're going to quickly cover off today. But this is about how do you build a proper talent pool, a proper candidate pool, and increase that candidate lifetime value and increase productivity of your placement ratios as well. So that's the sort of template or the guide that we've created for you, which we'll get across to those of you who are looking for it. To break it down really simply, you've got sort of 2 types of recruiter, I suppose. You've got the activity-heavy recruiter against the asset-heavy recruiter. So the activity-heavy is basically where we're consistently doing outreach, we do lots of manual shortlisting. It's quite reactive, and it's very, very dependent. Your success is very dependent on the amount of effort you're putting in. Understandable. Whereas asset-heavy recruiters are looking at their candidates as assets. They look at them as a reusable inventory. I can reuse these candidates on a continuous basis. Therefore, they have much faster response to their clients. They've got more predictable revenue, and that over a period of time that compounds as this pool starts to build out and build up and build up as well. So the really good recruiters out there are treating their candidate pools as this reusable inventory of assets that they can keep reusing, which helps them against things like spikes and etc. and volatility in the marketplace. It gives their customers more confidence as well, that you know that you've got these benches and these pools ready to go. And it also allows you to push much, much harder for exclusivity and retained work as well from that point as well. So it's a bloody good thing to do this if you're focusing as an asset heavy type recruiter. But the reality is, if you start from zero every time you're recruiting, you're in effect having basically you're halving the candidate lifetime value every time, and probably halving the net contribution per placement when you factor it all in. So basically, if you keep doing it that way, you're just not making much profit off the back of it, which leads back to the points we talked about. Why? Because you have slower shortlists, you get more dropouts at the offer stage. You've got lots of hours lost to repeat sourcing. You get lower consultant productivity, and you're spending more time relying on job boards, paid ads, LinkedIn, just about everything else between the two. So again, the difference between being busy and being effective, as we talked about before. Fairly obvious stuff, but let's really do something about it within our businesses. So when we talk about candidate pooling, this is not just a big dump of CVs. It's not an applicant list that you've had for years. It's not some database that's filtered once and then just forgotten about. And it's not just a whole bunch of tags with no delivery plan on it. What a candidate pool has are 4 clear characteristics. So real clear definition about the specific role types, the seniority band, the skill clusters that you're building out. It's based on permission-based relationships. So your pools are candidates who know who you are, and they're expecting you, they've invited you, they've accepted it's okay to get contacted by you on a regular basis. You've segmented it properly, so you're understanding things like their readiness, their ability to work, flexibility for work, their relationship history, location, etc., etc. And it's ongoing, this talent pooling, so it's continuously refreshed. So you've got this lovely bench of candidates that are getting fresher and fresher all the time, and widening and getting bigger and bigger. So you're continuously and deliberately adding in new talent to your pool. It's cleaned regularly from a data point of view, and you're using it repeatedly to increase that lifetime value and keep those candidates active is what you want to do. Because obviously, if you're not giving them contact information and jobs, they're going to go somewhere else type stuff. There's different types of candidate pools you can have, or talent pools that you can have. Here's 5 examples that you might have. So you've got your core placement pool, which are candidates and roles that where you've placed repeatedly these types of candidates, these types of roles. You've got your silver medalist pool, which are all those strong candidates that who basically made it to shortlist but never actually got placed. So they're strong candidates, but they've just about missed out on that on a particular job. You've got your pre-placed candidates. So these are the candidates that you have placed in the past. They're pre-vetted, they're referral rich, they're good to go. You've got passive future movers, so the ones who we know who are open to the right opportunity. So contact me when you've got something of interest. I'm ready to go if it's good enough. And also you've got that little niche, scarce niche skill set of candidates where there's low supply but there's high demand market. So if you woke up every day and you're building out these 5 little talent pools, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and having a deliberate strategy to grow these talent pools and engage with these talent pools, then obviously it significantly increases your turnaround time and productivity as a recruiter. So fairly obvious stuff, but really, really good. Now remember, a small warm pool is much better than having this massive cold pool of lots and lots of people. So we say to people, think about the size of your candidate pool and keep refreshing it and turning it over. So your core pool is maybe up to 75 candidates. Your silver medalist could be like a 30 per particular type of role. The scarcity group could be where you've got 20 real high touch, real scarce skill pool that you could use for certain roles when it comes required, etc. So you're not talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in the pool. They're all set on your database. These are these specific pools that each recruiter owns around specific areas that we can sort of tap into and engage with from there. Very simple process. Again, this is all mapped out for you in the guide that comes with it. But here's a step-to-step guide of what you need to do. So you select your role, your market to the pool, identify sources beyond just the live applicants, and look at your silver medalists, and talk about your past placements and so on and so forth. What's the entry criteria to join your pool? So be really explicit about who fits and who doesn't fit. So make sure you're only letting people on your pool that are the right people. Speak to them, get their permission to make sure that they're happy to be on your pool, they're happy to be contacted by you on a regular basis, and they expect it, which is good. Make sure you're tagging them and segmenting them properly on your database so you can pull lists of it really easily. And then keep sanity checking with them as well. Make sure that they are warm enough, there's a level of engagement with you, so you can continuously keep in contact with it, which is really important. Keep them warmed up all the time. Do keep the pool warm. That's really important. Keep it relevant. Don't just become noisy. So make sure you're continuously sending them on a regular basis a cycle of relevant market insight, like career check-ins, relevant opportunities, etc., etc., etc. You can do that now with AI, which is obviously great. Not all of it, but most of it. So you can build this really nice AI automated framework that is continuously sending them applicable information, insights, and content on a regular basis, and they're happy to receive it. It keeps them warm, etc., etc. That consistency, I think, is really important. Rather be consistent and creative, then you become relevant. That relevance builds some trust with them. That trust creates engagement in your pool, and then you can tap into them on an ongoing basis as well. Remember also your talent pool are also leads, or opportunity to generate more leads as well. So if you've got an engaged talent pool, even if you're not necessarily placing people in them, you could use them to gather more leads for other candidates and also other jobs as well. So have a little think about your sort of regular thing that you can do. And then on a regular basis, just check your pool health, check the effectiveness of your pool. So track it by size and type, engagement response rates, your activation response times, submissions from the pools, and how many placements obviously have come out of those pools. And then think about the KPIs as metrics of a good pool. So faster shortlist, fewer sourcing hours, higher conversion ratios, etc., etc. And you can do that across 4 or 5 pools basically. So you've got this nice dashboard. You can see exactly how each pool is performing, what you need to do to improve it, and actually where you're getting the most traction from, the quickest turnarounds, the better placements, and so on and so forth. And just finally, as a quick scenario for you, here's ABC Recruitment, 10 consultant recruitment business. Average, each recruiter is doing about 15 placements a year. So about 150 placements, average fee 10K, etc., etc. So there's the stats of a typical sort of recruitment business of about 10 people. If you look at those numbers, and then we went back into our list of, okay, where are the 5% improvements we're going to do by just focusing on our talent pooling, a 5% increase across those areas I highlighted before would equate to about an uplift of about 275 to 300 grand if you look at the actual statistics and the numbers. So just by doing this talent pooling exercise properly across your business, you could probably get an 18 to 20% performance improvement across your business from a profitability point of view. That's got to be worth having, right? And even if you don't do any more sales, it means you're going to do a lot more conversions with what you've already got. So that's the principle behind talent pooling. So stop starting from scratch every time a job comes in. Treat your candidates like these reusable assets. Rather than consistently or constantly sourcing new people, build out these groups, these talent pools, these benches of relevant candidates, and then keep in touch with them, light touch, keep them warm, keep them engaged, etc. So when a role lands, you stop your recruiters going straight to the job boards and the LinkedIn. They go straight to their pools first, and you have that as a KPI, as a metric, and you change your commission structure even if you want to be able to do that. And you will see by doing so overnight, as we've seen with some of the examples I've shown you before, you'll see time saved, costs reduced, shortlist sped up, you'll get better results, more predictable results as well, which obviously makes a huge difference. And that will just drive up the profitability of your business. So going back into summarizing, the retreat report we'll send across to you. That's all about productivity and profit. So make sure you get a copy of that, and you'll see some more examples of other things that you can do to drive up that profitability and profit. We'll send you across the waste elimination checklist. Complete it, do it, see where the gaps are in your business, start plugging those gaps. It might just be outside of other stuff. And obviously we'll send you the ultimate candidate pool playbook as well. So you've got that as an example of one of the things that you can do to make a big difference. As always, if you're a member of TRN, reach out if you need any help with this stuff. If you're not a member of TRN, come and join us, come and get involved. And obviously we'd love to work with you and help you do what it is that you're doing. Okay, cool. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I don't think I've got any questions in the chat unless you have got any questions. So no, I don't think so. So good. So hopefully that all made sense. Give me a thumbs up if it did make sense. If it didn't make sense, then just don't say anything, please. That'd be great. Hoping that's been useful. Hope that's given you an idea. It's just one of the things to think about. If we're living in the productivity revolution right now. Our obsession needs to be, how do we make our businesses more productive than they were before? As simple as that. And that's just one example of how you can do it. Do that, get more efficient, more productive teams, more productive businesses, then start really driving some of that velocity sales stuff to win in more business. And then suddenly you're converting at a much higher level of productivity. Okay, good stuff. Hope you had a fantastic rest of the day. Looking forward to catching up with you somebody later on, and we'll get all this stuff sent out to you afterwards. And take care, and we'll see you at one of the next ones. Thanks a lot. Cheers. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the TRN podcast. Thank you for listening. And make sure you grab the free episode toolkit. All the links are in the description. And click follow in your podcast app so you can get notified of our next episode. If you want to get more out of your business and your people, then please unlock 30 days from our platform, TRN World, for free. And help yourself to all our training content, our guides, our templates, and peer insights. You can get started at trnworld.com/trial. And finally, if you found this episode of the TRN podcast of use, please share it with your network and tag TRN on any socials with your takeaways. Otherwise, message us directly if we can help in any way. We do reply to every question. Otherwise, we'll see you next week on the next TRN podcast.